So, welcome to another episode of In Between Homes. Today I am receiving Martyna. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm super happy to be here, Lucy. So I'm very excited. Just please, all the listeners, be a little bit patient towards me. I'm a beginner in podcasting and talking, definitely. But I'm super excited. So I'm ready to go.
Thank you for saying yes. Tell us a little bit, where is home for you?
Well, I would say that home is where I feel comfortable with. I change homes pretty often, even though let's say, don't like really moving and like don't like the process of like searching for the new apartment, searching for the new place. It always takes a lot of nerves. I've realized that in the last 5, 6 years, I moved around like 8 times. So I am kind of like used to getting to new environment around me. And when you don't have like that big of stability in terms of like having your own place always for like until the end of your life or like having your own apartment, then you really have to teach yourself how to find home in the place that you are. So for me, it's comfort. And also for me, it's like my routines, let's say. So maybe it's not even about the specific place or like how the place should look like, but more about like how my feeling about the place is. And if I am able of building any kind of routines in the place that I'm in. I'm very routines oriented. So for me, the mornings, the evenings has to kind of look the same. Especially that I assume for many entrepreneurs, life can get quite hectic. So if I can have this like kind of core and I can find myself comfortable and confident in it, that no matter what, no matter where I am, I can always find this stability, then I can call it home. I'm also like, I would like to say that people is my home as well, but it's also, I have people all over the world. So it's not that obvious that where the people are, there is my home because I have so many friends that are living in other countries. But whenever I talk with them, they feel like home, even though we are not necessarily in the same location.
And can you explain us what is this feeling about when you feel home? Well, how do you feel it?
I would say that it's a feeling of kind of being taken care of, because maybe this is what I received from my parents or my sister, that I didn't have to worry always about everything, about the survival, let's say. So being taken care of is definitely one part of it. And it doesn't have to be even necessarily done by other people, like that other people take care of me, but that I also take care of myself. So as soon as I feel that I am sustaining myself and I can give myself the support that I need on a daily basis, then I'm like, okay, I can handle whatever is going to happen. I can handle whatever I have to approach on a daily basis, because I have kind of like the home and the comfort and the confidence in myself, because I just try to support myself on a daily basis. And sometimes it's just by journaling, which I always do. Sometimes it's just by ping-ponging the ideas with the person that I love or like my friends. So then I can actually realize in my head that, okay, I got this. It's fine. I'm gonna handle this, whatever happens. And as soon as I can realize what is happening around me, then everything is gonna be fine.
Mm. And is your routine supporting you to feel home, right? So do you want to share with us a little bit more about what you do exactly in your routine?
Yeah, of course. Well, I would say that the middle of the day is kind of like different, but the mornings and the evenings are kind of the same. In the mornings, I do a crazy thing that many people are always laughing at me that I'm doing. I'm chewing the oil in the morning. So as soon as I wake up from bed, it's like I think it comes from Ayurvedic rules. So I'm chewing the coconut oil because I've read that it's improving your health and like your actually whitens your teeth. So I'm just like, okay, perfect, whatever works. But it's also like a way for me to kind of like slowly start the day. I'm rather a person that like doesn't like to talk that much in the morning, and I'm living with people, so I rather stay silent in the morning. So chewing the oil kind of makes it very possible to do it. So I start with this. It's around like 10-15 minutes. Then typical hygienic stuff, necessarily brushing the teeth after this, making myself coffee. I don't drink caffeine, so it's like a caffeine-free coffee. And then I'm sitting down to my desk and I'm doing my journaling. Sometimes either before or after, I'm doing like a small warm up, depending on how my body feels. I'm doing like a lot of sport. I'm training on a daily basis. So sometimes my body feels a little bit sore in the morning. So I think a little bit of yoga or a little bit of the stretch. It doesn't have to be even like a lead exercise that I watch YouTube and try to do the same. It's more that I try to move my body around a little bit, either from top to bottom, from bottom to top, just stretch a little bit so I actually can feel myself.
Mm.
Start with the journaling. I have a very specific way of writing the journaling. So I divide my life into three categories. It's work, additional stuff, and general. So it does make sense for me. But if I'm doing work related stuff about commissions, any kind of like work with the office that I'm also doing, then I'm putting it in category one. If it's others, then it's usually about like self-education or maybe doing some course at the time. So I have to write down what I have to do during the day about this specific category. And then general. So I'm writing, okay, I have to call this. I need to call the doctor. I need to go and do some grocery shopping about this. So I put things in three categories. So my brain kind of stays aligned, like what I have to do. And then I'm also writing like what is the biggest priority of the day that I have to accomplish or I have to finish the biggest chunk of things that I have to do. So I set myself in the right direction from the very early stage of the day. And I just move on with work. So that's the morning things. In the evenings, it's much shorter. So after I do all the hygiene stuff, I go to my bed and I try to read a book in my bed. I put the humidifier on because I really like aromatherapy. So I usually just try to match the smells or like just makes a different kind of smells that calms me down. And then I usually just read a book for like half an hour and then I just go to sleep. So if I have these kind of like start in the beginning that is kind of like the repeatable and the same, it gives me a lot of stability.
I love how you describe the sense of, feeling home, creating your own framework, and you can do it wherever you live in the world and whatever, the house you have been moving around the last few years is like you still feel like stability and stuff. And I think it's so important for us as a human being to have this part of stability that anchor us in the present moment so you know what to do to focus on, and this ritual is really helping you, supporting you to go where you want to go and create the
Mhm.
life you want.
Exactly.
So thank you.
And I also think that like the routines, oh, sorry, that the routines for me has to be like very, let's say, minimalistic in terms of like what I have around me. So I can't always rely on like some products that are around me. So of course, like if I don't have my humidifier somewhere when I'm in a travel or like I'm just going visiting a country or whatever, then at least I have like a small bottle of like aroma, yeah, the
Listen.
oil, aromatic oil. So I can at least have it a little bit, and then like maybe I put it on my like wrist or something. So I always try to keep the routine rather simple in terms of the objects and finding the grounding a little bit more in my own head and about the structuring the activities, because you never know where you're going to end up and what kind of circumstances you're going to have around. So I find it very important that it's rather simple.
Yeah, yeah. So yes to that. Okay, so if we look at who you were 10 years ago compared to now, how was your life 10 years ago? Who was Martina 10 years ago?
Wow. I would say that I was a completely different person. I would say that especially during the last like 6 years, I made the biggest change within my life. 10 years ago, it was 2014. Uh, oh wow. I was studying architecture in Poland. I'm original from Poland. So I was studying architecture back then, and I think I was starting the school then. So I probably was extremely enthusiastic about the whole like process, just getting started. I was very dedicated to me being a architect in the future. I was dedicated to this idea from the very early stage of my life, since I was like in primary school, I think. So I was rather oriented on this goal. I was living in Poland, in North Poland, in Gdańsk. I think I was very close to actually learning how to build my routines, because I think there was also like a little bit of movement of people, like of maybe like some coaching or like people in the internet, like influencers trying to share a little bit more healthier routines, how to handle life. So I was kind of doing the first steps maybe in this area. But even though I had quite a clear goal on that point of my life, I feel that I was rather lost, in terms of like confidence, and in terms of believing that I can actually make it happen on some point. I knew that I will be able to finish the studies and I can like go step by step. But I didn't have maybe this confidence that I'm good enough to do all of these things. Am I going to be the best? Am I going to shine? It was all like a little bit of maybe competitive approach to being like, I had a huge course, like it was I think 300 people when we started. So it was just like a lot of people aiming the same goal, the same direction. And I was just like, can I actually make it work? But then I was also, at the other hand, very happy that I actually managed to get to the school. So I was just like, let's see, I don't know, maybe I can do it, maybe don't, but at least I accomplished the first step of like getting into the school. Let's see where it goes. But deeply inside of my heart, I would say that I was rather not that confident person, in terms of my skills and in terms of like just me confidently going through the life. I was also like still kind of very close to parents, even though I was like, I just moved out from their place. I just moved in with my sister actually, to a separate apartment. And I was maybe a little bit like learning how to have this kind of like independent life. But it was very early stage, and I don't think that I was feeling very confident about it.
Mm. And compared to the confident woman you are today, or way more than you were, what happened? How did you become, how did you find self-confidence?
Mm. Well, I would say that for me, the biggest step was moving to Denmark. When I finished the Bachelor of Architecture, I decided not to continue with the master's. I think that was one of the biggest decisions of my life. And I know that it might not sound right now, especially, it might not sound like very dramatic. But in these years, I would say like in Poland, Poland can be quite conservative in terms of like approach to education and your career path in general. It was quite shocking, definitely shocking for my parents, that I am quitting architecture. I mean, quitting, like I finished one step, I just decided not to go with the next one. Thankfully, I had a really like good friend of mine on my side who was at the same place. We were studying together. And she decided not to continue architecture as well. And I felt very inspired by that, because she was just like, I just want to do something different. And I had like a lot of trust in her. And I was just like, okay, if she can do it, maybe I can do it as well. And then in this case, I decided to just change my life and just leave it open for at least now and see what happens. And within a couple of months, I decided to go to Denmark. And it's again, I had amazing people around me, and I still have. I'm always grateful for my friends and my family, because maybe they're not always the most supportive because they don't understand the ideas of mine, but they are at least ready to question the ideas with me. And I got the idea of going to Denmark because like it was actually quite a movement in Poland that people were going to Denmark to study. And I decided that I'm gonna start fashion design in Denmark, just because I always loved fashion. And I was like, this one time in my life, I'm just gonna do something purely out of fashion, out of passion to fashion, and not necessarily calculating if it's gonna be beneficial in the future. Because we all know that fashion industry can be a very challenging place to be. So in this case, I was just like, okay, let's do it. Let's just go to Denmark, get kind of like run away a little bit from Poland and from maybe like some kind of responsibilities in terms of like, oh, me just dropping the studies and like maybe disappointing somebody in this case. Just leave it, get out of it, go to the middle of nowhere, because I was really studying in the middle of nowhere. Go there and see if you can do it. In the worst case scenario, you're just gonna be back. And we'll just see. In the worst case scenario, you're just gonna lose 2, 3 years of your life and it's going to be fine. So I moved to Denmark and I would say that it was like a huge change because it's a different country with the language that I don't speak. And like, thankfully, everybody in Denmark speaks English, so that was good. But it's also like English is not my mother language, so of course I had to go through the obstacle of like, okay, I'm not super fluent, like how people will react to that, going to a completely different culture, to the city that I don't know the school, like everything is new. So at least I had some ideas from my friends how Denmark looks like because they were studying here or like they've heard like some friends studying here. So I could have like kind of an overview of that. It was very helpful on that point. So I had a very good, let's say, base to move in here. And I would say that the biggest change happened when I actually moved. I brought all my stuff. I earn enough money to cover all the expenses to actually be able to sustain myself at least a little bit for here and then get some kind of a job. And I felt very lonely in the beginning, and I felt that the loneliness was bringing me a lot of determination to work on myself because I was just like, I can't rely on anybody else right now. I made this decision, I made this choice, I have to be responsible for that, and I have to take full like yeah, I just have to be proud about it and just be accountable for that. So just you have to make it work. And I would say that then I started working on myself, maybe reading some psychology books, listening to plenty of podcasts like about how to deal with your brain. Yeah, I would say step by step, it just brought me where I am right now with just exposure also to different people, different culture. I was in a very international schools with many people from like Europe. So I could also expose myself to different kind of types of people who taught me so many things and showed me so many different ways on how you can be as a person. And I find it extremely beneficial and extremely um, warm that instead of like just staying always in the same like soup of people, you open yourself for everything that is completely different and you just find that you can learn every bit of different culture and maybe take something for yourself and be a completely new person. And I think that just improved the whole process a lot, the people and the environment that I was living in.
Wow, such a journey. You follow a big yes to I'm going to leave home and go in foreign countries in foreign languages and just do it. Like really when we hear your story and thank you for sharing because it's like sometimes you just have to do it and trust it and at the end of the day the risk is not that big. You can always come back, you can always and it's so true, like then in a way being far away from the people you know is kind of lonely, but at the same time you know it's what you want. So you kind
Mhm.
of walk through and build up your own resilience and confidence in yourself. You know, you make the step and it's how you become this woman today that okay, I know I can make it. I don't know exactly how, but I'm
Mhm.
going to pursue and continue. So thank you so much for sharing all of that. I think it's great. Um, yeah, it's a great journey where we see the steps. You don't have it all figured out from day
Mhm.
one. It's just like an impulsion. It's like I want something else. I
Mhm.
want to continue architecture. And do you want to tell us a little bit what are you doing today? What is your business about?
Yes, so currently I'm an illustrator and event artist. And I would say that all the previous steps, architecture, fashion design, people that I've met, it all makes so much sense in terms of what I'm doing right now. Because technically my job is currently not related. I mean, like it doesn't come from the education that I did specifically because I was either educated for architect or fashion designer. But all the skills that I've learned on the way brought me a great core for the job that I'm doing right now. And that's why I'm always saying that like the process matters so much. And you never know where the things are gonna bring you. But like as long as you're doing something that it's aligning with your values, just keep going. Like it's gonna make sense on one point. Just trust yourself. Don't let yourself do things that just take away your energy and just keep pushing and it's gonna work. Like, and I don't know, like I say, I don't know how, I don't know what is gonna happen, but it will just work. Just listen to this kind of instinct that if something is not working, then change it because life is too short. So just keep going. And right now, yeah, I'm mainly an illustrator within the fashion and lifestyle industries. I work either for commissions, so somebody can like just come to me and they have an idea for a campaign or like they want to do something for the social media, and I can visualize the idea of them of theirs. And like in general, I ideally work for with fashion because I just still have a huge passion for that. And I find it like extremely exciting environment and very inspiring. So ideally it's fashion, but it's also lifestyle. It can be some products. So anything that works and anything that I find like exciting that I work with. And event art, I would say that this is the most yeah, just exciting part of my work because of course there's a huge difference between like you working at home and like just communicating with your customer through or client through the email or like online, and it's completely different when you just have a quick call with your client and then you end up actually in the event drawing. Just quickly, maybe to explain what the event artists do. I am doing like a very quick portraits of guests that are arriving to the event. So I don't, can I say how we met or like it's
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
So this
Hey.
is how actually we met each other. So for all the listeners, we actually met on the event that I was illustrating at. And that was a wedding. So I can either illustrate for people who are coming to the event in the store for, and I'm working for a company for a brand, or I can just work for private people for the private events, and weddings is one of these parts. And I absolutely love this job, and it's extremely fulfilling. It's extremely yeah, just satisfying to draw very quickly in front of people. But it's so rewarding to see how people are getting excited about your work and also how you can maybe influence their drive for art maybe in the future. I would say that there is like always like my small hope in my work. I would say that each artist probably has some kind of a mission. Maybe it's not clarified in the very early stage, but probably it's there somewhere deeply in the heart. And I feel that my mission is always to inspire people to actually do the art, regardless of how it's going to look like. And if I'm like sketching in front of people and they can observe the process and they can see what tools I'm using, I often hear like, oh, I haven't like drawn like since I was a child, or like I always loved it, but I can't do it. And I'm just like, it's not about being able to create a beautiful image, because what beautiful is like it's different for everybody. It's more about the relief that you can get through art and through just the meditative zone that you can put yourself in when you're drawing. So yeah, I'm drawing on events, I'm drawing at home. I try to draw as much as possible, and basically that's what I'm doing for work. But definitely the event illustration is like a big part of my work, and this is the part of my work that I enjoy the most.
Yeah, and it's where we connected. It was in France, so she travels as well.
I
And
travel.
it just, as a guest to that wedding, it's just a beautiful gift. I will share with the audience the picture you draw after. But it's just a beautiful gift to see someone really loving what she does, and such a talent and a gift that you have. And yes, you say like everyone can draw, and it's true, like everyone kind of forget that we could, like it's something you need to practice too as well, and maybe we will never become like you, very strongly expert on that, but it's what you say, it's the meditative state, is the calmness, is to go slow, is to pause, is to relax, and all those things, to take the time. And it's yeah, so it was just an amazing experience, and the conversation we had there was just a big match. And so yes, so this is definitely an amazing gift if you organize an event or a retreat or a wedding, because like what we receive as a guest is like, wow, someone is like seeing us because it's our portrait as well, and in a beautiful way, and it's really a nice present. And so now you became so your own boss entrepreneur. Do you Can you tell us a little bit about how is it for you to be an entrepreneur, to be your own boss? Have you learned about it? Have you studied business, or is something you kind of learn on the way?
Well, I would say that it can be very challenging. And I think everybody can say that. I mean, like, I don't want to generalize, but I would say that like it is always a challenge to be your own boss, not in terms of like I'm pretty good in discipline and like putting myself into very specific structures and what I have to do, how I have to do. But then on one point it becomes to be a lot of things to actually do because when you're an entrepreneur, and especially in my field, okay, it's great that I have to practice to draw and like just do it on a daily basis to actually keep the skills going, because the hand can forget very quickly. But then at the other hand, I have to reach the clients. I have to search for the commissions, because also like the event art, for example, it's quite a niche in general, but especially also in Denmark, it's not that popular. So I also have to push the idea and like to explain it to people before they will even consider me as like as a client, as a people that they want to work with. So searching for clients, then you're also like, oh, okay, social media. So you have to record exciting content. You have to prepare something that is actually going to engage the audience. And also you need and you kind of want to also build the audience and build the community around what you're doing. Because of course, one hand is like getting the clients and getting the work, but then at the other hand, it's again fulfilling the mission and building kind of like a group of people who are either excited about the same thing that you're doing, or just people that you like to spar about ideas with. So definitely social media is another part, and then you have to be your own accountant, and I find this part extremely challenging because I was not studying business at all. I'm not an economy person, and it's very difficult for me to work with like everything that is connected with like budgeting and everything. Of course, like I still have to do it, but it's like rather yeah, always it's like the thing that takes the most of my energy, because this is the field that I feel the least confident in. But you also have to fulfill it, and until you find like a person, accountant, or like a person who supports you with this, then you still have to do it on your own, on a daily basis, monthly basis, yearly basis. So like that's the thing that you have to do. So on one point, like the list is like growing, and then you realize that for the actual work on the thing that you love, it says like a 5 or 10%. And you're like, so how am I going to grow my skill in this like 1 hour a day that I have? So you have to be very considerate about the time that you have. And I would say that this is the biggest challenge, that you have to handle everything on your own until you, of course, start working with people who can support you in the process. So I learn it mainly, I study this topic, let's say, mainly from either my friends who own their own business, or like I just search for the artists or like the entrepreneurs that I appreciate for the work and see what they're saying about it. Different blogs, podcasts, articles, like internet is a huge source. So I just try there. But also I have a tendency to just try to reach out to people that I trust with what they're doing. Also, like, I don't know, for illustrators, some courses also, how other illustrators are handling this business specifically, because of course each business has its own like needs. So I would say just try to get the knowledge from everywhere. And I feel lucky that we actually have so many ways to get the knowledge from right now. So it definitely makes things much easier. But yeah, all the time it's a process, and I would say that this will continue forever. But yeah, you can just still get the knowledge. You just have to be very dedicated to what you're doing to make it not burn you out, I would say.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's stages, at some stage, yes, you have to handle all together because you maybe don't have enough finances, or even sometimes enough time to even think about, okay, I need someone to help me. And
Mm.
but I appreciate the fact that you are pointing out that you have asked others. It's like you didn't stay in your own bubble by yourself. You actually ask around, like, do you have advice? Can you,
Mhm.
you look for answers. And I think this is a best also advice to others that may are struggling right now with everything they have to handle. It's like how I can breathe. Yeah, maybe look around. People seek for advice. It's not
Mm.
failing to actually being asking for help. Is normal. Like you cannot know
Exactly.
everything.
And I think like for many people, and also for me, Martina in 10 years ago, I would say that it was definitely a person who doesn't want to ask for help because like I'm independent, I can do whatever I want by myself. And I was like, but do I really have to? Like it's not about the being like independent or like that if you're not gonna ask for help, then you're just gonna win the prize or whatever. Like it actually just makes your life like so much more challenging and so much more difficult when
Yeah.
people, it's like I'm always willing to share my side of the story or the business. If somebody asks me for advice, of course, let's just go for it. So why I should not ask other people for advices or like just how they do things? And I find never experienced a person being like, no, 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 I'm not gonna tell you anything. Like just go away. Like I always got kind approach from people. And I think it's so much in our heads that we just don't want to ask for help because it maybe makes us weak when it actually doesn't. It's just a thing. It's just a question. It's not good. It's not bad. It's just a thing. So I would say that it brings so much. And also it brings such a relief when you hear that, oh yeah, sure, I struggled with that as well. I'm just gonna let you know how I did it, or like at least give you some ideas. And you're just like, oh, so it's not me being dumb. I
Yeah.
actually am in the same place as other people were or have been. So it's normal. Just calm down. So I would say that it doesn't it's not only giving you maybe answers to your questions, but it also gives you a huge relief just to ask others people for their advice or like their experience because we're actually very similar, like you said. We're often landing in the same places and we just lack just the human aspect of it sometimes. That's why I just reach out for it.
Yeah, it's something I experienced as well at the beginning of my business. It's like you feel so alone in your journey because for me, it's like I didn't have like my family entrepreneur, I didn't have people around me. Even though I learned business, it's not the same learning business and actually applying it.
Also
And
true.
not the same. There is a theory and there is practice. And then the only entrepreneur I was surrounded with were my clients. So I couldn't reach out to them to ask help, my client. So it's so important that, and over the time, I figure out to find help, to seek help. And then I
Mhm.
realized, yeah, everyone is actually experiencing those moments of not knowing what is the next step or not knowing those things, or should I hire now, or all those things that you have to bet on them. Am I doing the right thing? As an entrepreneur, we never know until when we will have income, if we manage to have recurring income and all of that. It's like, just you always bet. Like it's like you trust, you bet. It's like, okay, I invest, I don't, and like, and
Exactly.
but it's a journey, and seeking out of help. Actually, now when I have people coming to me and ask me a question, I'm like, yeah, of course, I'm happy to help. Like everyone, like now like for the last few years, I've been asking even men entrepreneurs, how did you do it? What, and they're so happy to support.
Mhm.
I think it. So of course, yeah, let's get a question. And there is no competition. I think
Exactly.
some people just believe that if I ask, I will feel like I'm not professional enough, or
Mm.
I'm not good enough, and all those things. But it's not about that at all.
Yeah,
And it's about there is space for everyone to do business in their own field, in their own expertise, their own gift, on their own way. Even two people, if you have a friend doing the same as you, it won't be the same. It will
exactly.
be a little bit different. So both of you need to exist, because then it's the market needs both.
Yeah.
And it's where you tap more into abundance, into a field of all possibilities and learning. So yes, Um,
Yeah.
do you want to add something about
Yeah,
that?
just one thing, because like
Yeah,
that was also like very nice what you said about like that when you're asking people and they're actually very excited to give their advice. And that's also the thing that we often don't see when we are in a place that we ask for help, that we look at it only from our own perspective of like, do I look like not professional? Is the person gonna be annoyed that I'm asking questions? Is it like fine that I'm like maybe trying to get some insights? So we think only about our own insecurities about the whole situation, when we actually don't realize that for the person that we ask for advice, it might be actually exciting because like they feel seen. And this part we never think about because we are so focused on our own, like, oh my God, what I'm gonna do. But the person can be actually, first of all, not having any problems with answering our questions, but second, also feeling like, oh, this person actually asked me for advice. It means that I'm worthy enough, that I am actually professional in what I'm doing. Probably they have been going through very similar insecurities that we're going for right now. And they're like, oh, I'm actually in a place that I can help and I'm going to use it because finally I can actually make it work. So it actually is very often beneficial also for the other person in terms of just feeling, yeah, professional enough and just being seen in the whole business. So I would say that it's often a win-win situation. So just no hesitations.
yeah, 100% about that. I think it's yeah, as you say, it's like, oh yeah, I struggled, but now my struggle can serve someone else. You can help.
Exactly.
You don't need to spend maybe 3 years I've been struggling with that. You can go faster. So it's where, when the whole world of coaching and being at service is about, is kind of giving the answer to people that what took us so long to figure out. But it's
Mhm.
really about that, is when we provide the service, when we share our knowledge, is actually feeling great. It's like, okay, I'm sharing a part of what I learned, what I experienced, what has been maybe suffering for me, but then you don't need to suffer. I can help you save that. So it's just amazing. So for those who are listening and are still scared today to ask questions, to ask for help,
Mm,
I would encourage you just to try it,
exactly.
because Martina and I were convinced that it can help others and it will
Exactly.
save you so much time and make your life so much
Mhm.
easier. And because, as you say, we don't have to struggle. We don't have
Exactly.
to go through the very hard time. The perseverance and resilience in business is important because we are fine tuning who we are. We are fine tuning our passion and finding our message. But if you can, avoid a few challenges on the way, just do it. It's
Mm,
you will. You will do your own job. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing about that.
of course.
Um, so today, do you see yourself coming back home, or like is Denmark really your home today?
I would say that, yeah, and that's the thing that right now when you said home, I'm just like, which one?
Don't
Yeah,
have to
so
choose.
that is a good question. Like, I feel lucky, but I would say that I always have my family home where my parents live. It's still in Poland. I'm visiting them very often. I consider this, at least right now, a place that I like to visit, but not necessarily live in. Also, like career is extremely important in my life, and I put a lot of effort to making this whole thing happen, and like just I take a lot of energy from this that I'm doing that. And I don't think that it's Poland is like kind of like my target market, let's say, because in the place that I live, it's like in north, it's close to Gdańsk. It's quite a big city, but it's still like not that oriented for the events like I'm covering, let's say, or like the experience that I'm providing. So I would say that that might be a little bit difficult. Maybe on one point, very like, late in my life, I will get back to Poland because I still think that it's a beautiful country. It's actually like also I'm from the seaside, so I need to have water around me. I just need to have an access to sea. Yeah, it has to be a sea. Like I don't take compromises. Like no rivers, no like lakes. It has to be a sea, and I believe that Polish seaside is extremely beautiful. So maybe on one point when I'm gonna be like stabilized and everything, like, and I won't have to be that in the place where I have to do the work, but I will have a little bit more flexibility. But for now, I would say that Denmark is a good place for now. It is definitely a very comfortable place to live. It's a very organized country that you feel very secure in, and it definitely influences your daily life. So for now, for the next couple of years, I'm gonna stay in Copenhagen, and then let's see. I'm very open and I'm very yeah, just nothing stops me, I would say. And if I will see an opportunity somewhere else, then why not? I think that once you move, then you don't have this like block anymore. You're just like, okay, I did it once, I can do it another time, you know? You're also such an inspiration for me because like you just live in Bali. It's not only like, oh yeah, I'm like, just going for a couple of months and then moving further. You're just like, you found your place there. So it is very inspiring also to see that like even though you're from Europe, you found your place like just somewhere in completely different part of the world. And I'm just saying, why not? So we'll see what the future brings. I definitely, from my whole experience, I've learned one thing. I don't know what's gonna happen, and I don't want to know yet. Whatever happens, it's just gonna happen, and it's going to be fine. I'm not planning my life further than 1 year ahead. If I would go and apply to corporate work and they would ask me, where do you see yourself in 10 years? I would be like completely blank, being like, I have no idea if I'm gonna live tomorrow. You're asking me a very weird question. So, because I don't know, my last 10 years of life showed me that I can end up literally anywhere. So I'm just very curious, but I'm very excited also just to see what happens. So I will let it be.
I love it. I love it. And I love what you say about you deal with your life 1 year at a time, because it has been the same for me. It's like, even though I came back to Bali and it's a place I love, like people ask me, so you will live there forever? I'm like, no, I'm here like this year I'm here. Next year potentially I will be here too, but I don't know. It's like,
Exactly.
and what I learned about this 1 year at a time, for me has been such a relief. I didn't have to figure out how I could stay forever in the country, or how I could get, permanent residency and all those complicated things. 1 year at a time is, oh yeah, I could move there for a year, and then, if I don't like it, I can change. It's like you put less pressure on yourself, and I
Exactly.
think it's a nice things to also for people who listen today, to kind of consider life on a more like, okay, let's do 1 year at a time. It doesn't mean that you are not committed. It doesn't mean that you cannot build anything. I built my business knowing that, yeah, 1 year at a time, and you as well. It's like we are still running the business. I don't know how many years
Exactly.
later. So by thinking 1 year, it doesn't mean you don't commit to things. You don't, I took a house for 10 years. And I'm like, no, I don't even know if in 10 years from now I will be here. But
Exactly.
so it is things where you remove pressure on yourself. And it's what for me has been a big needle mover for me to go build the life that I want. And this leads to the question I had. It's about, to those who listen today who really want to create a life that they love even more than what they have today. Do you have an advice for them?
I would say that it's gonna sound so cliche, but actually listen just to yourself, like, and what your body tells you. And you might not understand everything right away, but if something concerns you, just stay with it a little while. I think also, especially with the house, finding a stability, having a place forever. I think that it's a very fake feeling of stability. Because many people, like, I have been raised in a country that is pushing you to get a loan for the apartment, buy the place, and like be there, stabilize, get a husband, child, and like just continue going this way. But is it really you? And like I would say that the advice is just like ask yourself, is it really me? Was what I'm doing? And if something feels off, just try to find the answer, and maybe it will push you somewhere, because there is so many things that we're surrounded with right now. Internet, like a society that are just telling us how we should be, or like what is appropriate to do. But it's also like, that's what I got from the moving out from my country, that I got to experience cultures from different places that have different kind of expectations. So maybe just get out of the bubble, go and explore different things and see, is it really you? Try something completely different. Like, try to do something that you feel like, why should I even do that? Or like, this stupid, or like, I don't know, do a different sport. Like, you don't even have to like move out from the country, but do a different sport. Like, try to watch different series or the movies. Like, get a book that you've never would think about like getting. Just question who you are. And when you're in the process, ask yourself, is it me? Or it's not a part of me anymore. I just want to drop it. I would say forever question and forever ask yourself, is it really you?
I love that. I love this advice. And it will lead me to almost the last final question is, often I hear people saying, yeah, but I don't have the money, I don't have the financial to make it happen. What is your relationship with money, as core of my business?
Yeah. Well,
What has been your relationship, yeah, with money so far, and how it's been for you?
I definitely had to learn how to have a better relationship with money. Mm, I it didn't come to me easily in the very beginning, like how to handle in general this topic, like what are my expenses, like how where I earn the money and everything. I was always working, like when I was like a student, or like both in Denmark, in Poland, like I was always like having a student kind of job. Because I always knew that I want to have like some kind of like my income. And I think that was like the biggest, like first lesson to always like have that, like you have to always aim for independence in terms of like having money. And I'm like, I would say that for me, it's obvious that like, if I'm a woman, like, of course, I have to have my own source of income, which I know that it's not obvious. Like, I probably wasn't obvious for my mom or my grandma or whatever. But for me, it is obvious right now. And no matter what is going to happen, like, I just know that I need to have like my we call it a security pillow in Poland.
Yes.
I don't know
Yeah.
how to translate it directly. So I would say that it's, again, like my knowledge comes from the internet and other people, to be honest. But like I was just like, also on one point I realized that I don't have the healthy relation with money, just because also like Denmark is not the cheapest country to live in. And when I was a student, it was rather challenging to sustain myself. When you are studying, when you struggle with finding even part-time job, because like I wasn't speaking Danish. So it was just always like very tight. So I had a very difficult times with even thinking about a wealthy life, because I was so stuck in this kind of like survival mode. And I would say that just as soon as I built like any kind of like a safety pillow, then I felt, oof, okay, now I actually can start breathing and I can see what's next. And from there, I would say that as soon as you get out from the survival mode, then is the moment that you can actually allow yourself to even reconsider your approach to money. Because before, you don't have mental space for doing that. So
Exactly.
as soon as I built this, and then I was like, okay, now I'm safe. What I can do right now to make the situation a little bit better.
Mm.
And of course, then it's again asking other people, like in terms of like commissions, like it's so hard to see what the prices should be, like how much I should ask for this. So it's always searching for the answers somewhere, because you have to base your knowledge on something that exists. And then it's also questioning, like, should it be less or should it be more? And if yes, then why? And always, again, questioning, how do you feel about, for example, this specific price that you give for your work? So I probably sound very all over the place right now, but because I'm still very much in the process. But I would say it's all about having first an ease to work with this topic. And I think that I can only speak from the culture that I have been raised in. Money is a challenging topic. It's often a problem. So in your head, it is also a problem.
Mm.
And right now, I don't think money is a problem. I don't want to think about money as a problem. It is a tool to use. And of course, it's great to have it, like probably most of the tools, and it makes life much easier. But it's only up to you to decide what kind of feeling about the tool you will have. And it's not making your life better if you're going to be afraid of the tool. So just changing the approach to using it and to having this as a thing in your head, maybe in a more eased matter, definitely helps to start working with it. And yeah, I would say right now it's also like definitely when I'm more established in my business and I know how to price my work, it became like so much easier. That of course still sometimes I'm questioning, oh my God, but how much? Because like the commissions can be so different. And then you're
Yeah.
like, but maybe this, maybe that. So you always, you still have some kind of struggles with this topic. But as soon as you just take a little bit more objective look at the whole topic, I think it helps just so much to work with it and just not getting too emotionally attached to this, that it can sometimes be, and sometimes, unfortunately, it can also not be there. And you just have to accept both ways and know that no matter what's going to happen, and no matter in which kind of like sinusoid moment you're going to be, you will make it work. And then the money is going to be another topic to figure out.
Yes, I love what you say because I always tell people that money is not the goal, it's a tool, and it's
Mhm,
really this like, and it's a tool that come in and out. It's sometimes you have more, sometimes you have less, and also what you say about the journey when you are in survival mode, you don't have a space yet to actually kind of shift your mindset to more abundant. So it's also finding ways to create this safety, this pillow, security pillow you are talking about, is really feeling secure, feeling safe. Like, okay, now something can happen, I still can eat, and it's building this confidence in yourself that, okay, I can trust myself. And for me, the recommendation I always give to entrepreneurs when it comes to pricing is you just do a little bit more every time.
exactly. That's good.
Every client is a little bit more.
And the
Until
stretch it.
exactly, because then you feel more confident about your work, you feel more things, the price is just how you feel about it. For me,
Exactly.
today the pricing totally different as what I was pricing 10 years ago.
Mhm.
I'm almost delivering the same work, and it's just because now I'm finally feeling like I'm paid the right value because I can own my value than before I was not able. So it's a whole process, and as you mentioned very nicely, stop saying to yourself, money is a problem. No,
Mhm.
reward that already with money is a tool. Like now, okay, how I can manage, and it's why I love calling this a relationship, because how I can date my relationship with money, how I can make it a little bit better, how I can get to know how I feel about that, and it evolves, and the more you nourish that relationship, more it's become a friend, and then yes, and more also when I say it's not a goal, it's because then more you lean into your passion when it's your gift, more you are going to receive also, because money is not the goal. We all need money, but it's a tool. So
Mhm.
I really
Exactly.
appreciate that. And so now we will close up with a rapid five. It's
Okay.
5 questions with you make it a short answer, like 5 words or one sentence max, if you can.
Oh yeah, that's always challenging with me, but let's give it a try.
It's okay. It's okay. So the first question is one thing you would love for your life today.
The first thing that comes to my mind is holidays.
Yeah, why not? Where are you
I don't-
going? Are you
I'm
going to
actually
Bali?
going. Yeah. I mean, just give me a week. I'm gonna book the tickets. No, maybe just because I'm like finishing some stuff because I go for like 1 week to Poland. and I'm just visiting my family. I'm just going to celebrate my sister's birthday. I just know that it's just so soon that I'm just like holidays. And it's also like small reminder that if you're a self-employed or like just doing being entrepreneur, you have to book yourself a holiday. Like it sounds stupid, but like you have to book the time off because otherwise it's not gonna happen.
I,
So yeah,
I second that. The second question is one thing you would love for the world.
more understanding
Mm,
towards what's different.
love that. The worst advice you have received.
Don't ever change. And like it's the worst because I know that it often comes from the right place. Because oh, you're so cool, don't change, it's amazing. But I'm just like, please don't say it. Because life is about the process. And if we stay the same forever, then it means that something went wrong.
So, what is the best advice you have received?
Oh, that's a good one. I would say that it's an advice, but also like kind of like a motto. Be afraid, but still do it.
Mm.
Like
And
have the fear, but regardless, do it.
I love that. And the last question, if you had a magic wand, what would you transform?
What I would transform? Oh my God. I'm just trying not to get too political right now. uh,
You can.
I would transform. Oh, I'm sorry that I'm taking so much time.
Take your time.
I have to answer this question, right? I would transform.
Don't overthink it. Just
Okay. Oh, that's a challenging part.
maybe, maybe you want to transform this.
Yeah, maybe I should. Okay,
Okay,
let's just.
I ask again the question. If you had a magic wand, what would you transform?
Well, I would say I would transform my overthinking and maybe in general overthinking because it's great to think, but it's not always healthy to overthink. So let it be.
Thank you so much, Martina. Today we are closing this amazing episode on In Between Homes. Thank you for being here with me and see you again.
Thank you so much. It was a great pleasure, and thank you so much, Lucy. Thank
Thank
you.
you.